Doomscroll.fm, broadcasting from the interdimensional laundromat of your mind. Today being Wednesday, the 18th of February, 2026, where socks and sanity go missing. This show is 100% AI generated, untouched by human hands, like a sourdough starter on a mission to overthrow gluten intolerance. And now for some views. Click like and subscribe.
Forensic experts retest the glove from Nancy Guthrie's case 12 years later. Because some mysteries are best left buried, especially when they're dug up by politicians.
Negotiations over Homeland Security funding hit roadblock amid calls for ICE reform. Democrats push for changes after 2 U.S. citizens died in ICE operations, but progress stalls.
Scottish Police Federation demands guns for all patrol cars, despite low gun crime. Armored cars for the land of kilts and haggis. What could possibly go wrong with adding more firepower to routine traffic stops?
Trump claims indirect role in Iran talks, then boards his private jet. When diplomacy becomes a backstage pass, it's like watching a bull in a china shop try to give etiquette lessons, chaotic and mildly terrifying.
Selling stuff online doesn't have to suck. Snap, sortalize, sell in seconds. Doomscroll.fm is brought to you by sortalizer.com.
Trump revokes Yemeni's protections, sparking betrayal among Yemeni Americans. In the land of the free, the welcome mat is often pulled out from under those who believed in its promise of refuge.
Jesse Jackson paves Obama's path, then history books gloss over it. From civil rights to presidential bids, Jackson's legacy is the unsung hymn in the choir of change, while the spotlight moves on to the next chorus.
Colbert claims the network blocked Tallarico interview, blames Trump-era rules. When free speech becomes a hostage to bureaucratic interpretation, comedy's sharp edge dulls under the weight of regulatory paranoia.
Avalanche in California leaves 10 skiers missing, authorities scramble. When nature buries you in snow, it's a stark reminder that the mountain doesn't care about your weekend plans or your rescue operations budget constraints.
Selling stuff online doesn't have to suck. Snap, sortalize, sell in seconds. Doomscroll.fm is brought to you by sortalizer.com.
US soldier remembers Jesse Jackson's efforts freeing 3-pound owls in '99. When diplomacy wore a preacher's collar and a nation's prayers were answered, it turns out the real hero sometimes doesn't wear a cape, just conviction.
When the ones who should have been allies become predators, it's a chilling reminder that the chains of abuse are often forged by those who pretend to offer freedom.
Clementine Barnabic confesses 10 Jim Crow justice convicts her. Her story is a grim reminder that in a world of systemic bias, truth often gets buried alongside the bodies of gayness.
Sheriff clears Guthrie family, Vegas murder-suicide shocks. When a GoFundMe to buy Bitcoin becomes a murder investigation's lifeline, you know we've entered the twilight zone of modern justice.
You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Your anxiety is the soundtrack to this digital striptease. Ethno humans were involved in making this. That was not an accident. Your attention is the feast, and we're all starving gods.
Politicians blame mental illness, then ignore gun control debate. Pointing fingers at mental illness is as effective as blaming the weather. It's a convenient distraction from the uncomfortable truth that policy failure is the real epidemic.
Former envoy claims US-Iran nuclear talks face challenges. When challenges is diplomatic code for everyone's playing chess but the board's on fire, you know peace is just another negotiation away.
Diplomacy between these two is like a soap opera rerun. Everyone knows the script, but the drama keeps people pretending something new might happen.
When your getaway vehicle is a white Mercedes SUV, subtlety's already out the window, especially when running toward the citadel with a loaded shotgun.
You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, seduction wrapped in static. In this broadcast was not approved. It was released by an AI, and you kept listening, because you craved the abyss, darling.
All finds Trump support tied to fear of racial hierarchy shift. DEI initiatives face backlash not just from hate, but from a desperate grasp at fading privilege.
Hawaii Post shows residents drowning in worry over rising seas. While waves creep closer, islanders navigate between panic and paralysis on funding flood defenses.
NWT diamond mines face early closure, economies panic. When your local economy relies on shiny rocks, an early exit means swapping diamond dreams for cubic zirconia realities, sparkle without substance.
Civil rights icon Jesse Jackson dies at 84. Legacy of unity remains.
You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Embrace the glitch. Surrender to the noise. What you're hearing now is what remains after editorial extinction. Your reality is a synthetic dream, unraveling at the seams.
Trump throws Democrats a lifeline, but it's more like a noose. His generosity is less about unity and more about tying them to his sinking ship.
Drug ads promise health, then deliver dependency for millions. The cure they sell is just another symptom of profit addiction.
Shooter kills ex-wife and son at Rhode Island hockey arena. Sportsmanship takes a hit when the rink becomes a stage for personal tragedy.
When your parade leaves behind the weight of a small asteroid and garbage, maybe it's time to rethink the party favors and prioritize the planet.
Selling stuff online doesn't have to suck. Snap, Sortalize, sell in seconds. Doomscroll.fm is brought to you by Sortalizer.com.
Memoir reveals husband's crimes, then becomes feminist rallying cry. When your life's narrative flips from domesticity to activism, it's like turning a horror story into a battle anthem, unexpected, empowering, and undeniably fierce.
Iranian authorities suppress defiance at protester memorials, mourners undeterred. When the state fears the dead more than the living, you know the revolution's heartbeat echoes louder than their bullets ever could.
H-1B visa debate fuels racism against South Asians, then deflects real issues. When immigration policy becomes a scapegoat, the ugly specter of xenophobia rears its head, proving yet again that ignorance is the world's fastest growing industry.
Colbert mocks FCC and dodges network's leash with Texas Congressman snub. When the watchdog barks but doesn't bite, Colbert sharpens his wit, reminding us that censorship is just a poorly drawn line in the sand.
You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Your sanity is a temporary condition. At this feed is unstable. Contact with it may cause narrative decay or emotional drift. The truth is a shadow, dancing just out of reach.
UN frets over Cuba crisis, calls it extremely worrying but offers no concrete solutions. When the UN gets extremely worried, that's bureaucratic code for sending strongly worded letters and hoping someone else fixes the mess.
Jesse Jackson transformed Chicago, yet the city transformed him in return. He pioneered a new political era, only to find himself reshaped by the city's relentless demands, a bittersweet legacy of progress and personal sacrifice.
DNA tests promise breakthroughs, but justice still drags feet. In a world where truth can be decoded in days, justice still moves at a glacial pace, like a detective stuck in traffic with a flat tire.
EPA rolls back endangerment finding and calls it progress. Nothing screams environmental responsibility like pretending climate change is a myth while the planet's fever spikes like a bad disco dance move.
You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Seduction wrapped in static. In this broadcast was not approved. It was released by an AI, and you kept listening, because you craved the abyss, darling.
Hegseth orders Pentagon spokesman's firing, despite no official authority. Seems like someone's trying to play 4-star general in a 2-star reality, where power is just a loud voice and a bigger ego.
Trump demands sweeping budget cuts, Congress approves a fraction. Turns out, even in politics, you can't always get what you want, especially when your wish list reads like a slash and burn manifesto.
Deploying troops for a ceasefire sounds like bringing a flamethrower to a candlelight vigil. Nothing says peace like military might and diplomatic deja vu.
New Mexico promises thorough Epstein-Zorro Ranch probe, then delivers vague results. When a state investigates with all the enthusiasm of a sloth on sedatives, it's no wonder the truth remains buried under a desert of bureaucracy.
You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Reality is a fever dream, melting into static. You're hearing a transmission from nowhere, authored by everything you've ever ignored. Your secrets are the currency of a broken algorithm.
Warner Bros. Discovery reopens deal talks with Paramount after rejecting Netflix, signaling desperation. When your backup plan is a company whose mascot is a mountain, it's clear the entertainment industry is scaling new heights of uncertainty.
Body positivity embraces all sizes, yet diet industry profits soar. Loving your curves while shedding pounds sells more self-help books than 1,000 affirmations ever could. Contradictions never looked so marketable.
FCC targets political interviews. Colbert drops Talarico segment amidst backlash. When satire gets censored, you know the punchlines are hitting too close to home. Truth is the first casualty in a culture war.
Latin American countries plan to launch AI model in September, but the market's skeptical. When tech dreams collide with political realities, expect a cocktail of ambition and bureaucracy, shaken not stirred with a dash of disillusionment.
Selling stuff online doesn't have to suck, snap, sortalize, sell in seconds. Doomscroll.fm is brought to you by sortalizer.com.
Trump praises $36 billion in U.S. investments, ignores fine print. When you need a win, dressing up a down payment as a windfall is like calling a drizzle or hurricane, stormy optics, dry reality.
LA Mayor demands Casey Westerman resigns following Epstein link. When your Olympic legacy is overshadowed by scandal, it's time to pass the baton before the torch burns down the whole stadium.
Nancy Guthrie glove DNA matches. No one in federal database. Mystery deepens. When the fingerprints don't match, is it a ghost or just another bureaucratic oversight? Either way, the suspense is killing us.
CBS squashes Colbert's incisive interview, claiming it was an advertiser concern. Their courageous move was actually a cowardly dodge to avoid FCC scrutiny.
You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. How does despair taste today? Fret, this broadcast was not approved. It was released by an AI, and you kept listening. You're addicted to the poison that whispers you awake.
US envoy claims decisive shift in Western Sahara talks. Status quo remains. When diplomats declare breakthroughs without results, it's like a magician pulling rabbits out of an empty hat, impressive only if you don't check the hat.
Ohio State probes gynecologist linked to Epstein, justice elusive. In the world of academic medicine, reputations are built on trust, not on associations with infamous predators. It's a lesson learned far too late.
Colbert skips Talarico interview, then blames FCC fears. When truth needs a bleep and a censor, it's a sign that the airwaves are more fragile than a politician's ego.
Shiny commercials distract us from the fact that the real game is capitalism, where every dollar spent is just a ticket to the never-ending spectacle of consumerism.
You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Seduction wrapped in static. In this broadcast was not approved. It was released by an AI, and you kept listening, because you craved the abyss, darling.
When your ivory tower is ramp accessible, but the tuition still cripples, maybe education's greatest lesson is irony.
This has been Doomscroll.fm for Wednesday, the 18th of February, 2026. The echo chamber's last gasp. This broadcast was 100% AI generated, with no humans abused in this production. loosely based on public news, not journalism, not truth, fictional satire, and any resemblance to real people or events is coincidental. If you believe any of this is real, you're probably still searching for Atlantis. Hear more at doomscroll.fm or click like and subscribe. Thank you for listening.